Uh, the Sefer Torah is being given by Alan and Marlene Josephs. It was written in memory of their parents, Yosef ben Reuven, Mindel bas Shmuel Avram, Rafal ben Sion, and Ganesha bas Avram. And each and every one of us know so well that their neshamas are having an aliyah in Shamayim right now that is beyond description. I thought about what I would say at a start moment like this. As you've heard me saying before, and you've heard it said before, we have never in our shul received the gift of a brand new Torah. It is a first for our shul, it's a first for our community. It represents a great milestone for us, a great milestone for Klal Yisrael, for all of Israel. And what comes to my mind are the words of the Or HaChaim HaKadosh that I saw and were so moved by and shared with you at our shul dinner just a few weeks ago. How Klal Yisrael, how the Jewish people, how the Torah itself is so overcome with love. They're so overcome with emotion. At the time that the Torah was given, the Torah records the fact that we departed and Refidim, and we left, and we arrived at Har Sinai, and then it says we went again, and the story is not communicated in chronological order, and the Or HaChaim HaKadosh says that the reason why the story is written in the Torah in a disorganized way is that when you are captivated by emotion, when you're captivated by love, you just start to babble. You don't get it straight. You're so overcome. And the moment of Har Sinai, the moment of Kabbalas HaTorah, of receiving the Torah, is that kind of a moment. It's the moment of the destiny of the whole world. The whole world was created for that moment at Sinai, and with this mitzvah of Ksiva Sefer Torah, of writing this Torah, to add this Torah to all the Torahs that have been written from Sinai to now, to think about all that history, to think about this Torah as part of that chain, that incredible shalshelis, that incredible chain of the soul. To think about all that, it's a breathtaking thought. It's a thought that I know it just moves us beyond anything that can be said. The Torah is being given, as I mentioned, by Alan and Marlene. Alan came to me at our shul dinner last year in February, and the way that, speaking on behalf of his wife, with all of that sense of purpose, with all that intellect and all that heart, he said, this is something we want to do. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. And Baruch Hashem, we're here. We're here together with children and grandchildren and children in Eretz Yisrael that are listening by and watching vicariously to this. We're here to be able to celebrate the incredible performance of this mitzvah by the Josephs family. But I just have one secret to tell you. It's the first new Torah for us, but it's the second Torah that they've written. The first Torah they've written is the Torah that's on their neshamas. It's the Torah that's on their faces. It's the Torah by which they live their lives, day in and day out, in public, in private, in ways that everybody sees and in ways that nobody knows. It's the way they carry themselves. It's their sense of purpose. It's their love of Hashem. It's their love of Torah. It's their love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's children, each and every one of them that are so precious to them. And they get no greater pleasure than to write a Torah and to be able to share that Torah with every Jewish man and woman and boy and girl. And so for them, it's the second Torah that they're writing. The first Torah is the Torah that we have had the pleasure to be able to hold in our shul and dance with and look at and be inspired. With HaKadosh Baruch Hu's help, we should continue to be inspired by both of these Torahs, may have Esther and Sean on the very best of gesund.
Amen.
I will ask Alan now to come forward and say a few words. At that conclusion, we will then go to the Bima, and Rabbi Pincus will share with us some words as the Sefer Torah is completed.
I'll tell you a little story about how we got here. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, growing up in Philadelphia in the early 1960s, I started imagining and dreaming what my life was going to be like as an adult. I knew I wanted to be a success. Now mind you, as an assimilated Jew, success to me meant a lot of secular education and money. Obviously, a happy and stable marriage and family were also important factors. But to me, these factors were what would be a fulfillment in life. I didn't know what I was going to do in the future, but I was pretty sure of one thing, or so I thought, that Judaism was not going to be part of it. At the time, I was going to after-school Hebrew school. I hated it. I cut whenever I could. I barely graduated, whatever that meant, and I had a bar mitzvah, and after that I figured my career, my Jewish career, would be over, happily. Fast forward 35 years. I did indeed achieve that success that I've been dreaming about. Now, frequently you hear people tell stories that they became a success and they were not happy. Well, that was not the case with me. I was very happy. I had a loving wife and children. I was in a prestigious medical practice, and I was making lots of money. Life was good. Life was good. Although I had no interest living as a practicing Jew, my wife Marlene, who had somewhat of a more traditional background, always insisted that the children have some Yiddishkeit in their lives. Everything was fine until one day when everything changed. My 16-year-old daughter, who's here today, a little bit older, decided to look for God and found him. On Friday afternoons, she would go around the house, taping light switches, my light switches, unscrewing the light bulb in my refrigerator, getting ready for Shabbos. I was incensed by this, because as a resident training at Mount Sinai in New York, I had a first-hand look at the ultra-Orthodox Hasidim. To me, they were rude, dirty, and seemingly uneducated. Any medical matter had to be run by the Rebbe, which made no sense to me. To me, I looked at these people as a cult, these Orthodox Jews as a cult, and I was not going to have my daughter be any part of a cult. So wisely, my daughter said, "Daddy, you know nothing about your religion. How can you criticize it?" So she gave me some books to read. I had a simple plan. I was going to read the books, and I was going to find all the inconsistencies and flaws. I was going to show them to her, and hopefully bring her back to her senses. I thought, how hard could it be to disprove this religion? Boy, was I in for a surprise. After a long and careful analysis, mind you, I was trying to dissuade her, I came to the conclusion that the Torah could not possibly have been written by man. Eventually, the path became crystal clear to me. Fortunately, I had a wife who was not only willing, but actually anxious to start on this new journey. And within 2 or 3 years, we were all Shomer Shabbos. The last 15 years or so have been quite a trip. My life before Torah was great, but now it's at a whole different level. Hashem has granted me a special gift. I was able to retire from my medical practice over 5 years ago, and I'm now able to devote time every day to learning God's words. And when my wife got sick several years ago, being able to turn to our Father in heaven for comfort was incredibly beyond description. Unfortunately, most people get caught up in the drudgery of life, and they don't realize the gift and the meaning of why they're here. Those of us who observe God's Torah understand better than most that getting close to our Creator by performing mitzvahs, engaging in prayer, and studying His words is the essence and the purpose in this world. There's nothing else. Over a year ago, as Rabbi said, I approached him and told him that my wife and I wanted to write a Sefer Torah. The writing started shortly after Pesach, and we're now about to finish it. Rabbi Pinkus, who is here from New York, the Sofer helped facilitate the writing, said that today would be, I would have, whatever I imagined, I would not be able to fathom, that it would be bigger than I imagined, and he was 100% right. There are many Torah obligations that we no longer have because of the destruction of Beit HaMikdash. There is one mitzvah, however, that is available to all, but due to its prohibitive financial nature, is available to a relatively small segment of people, that being the writing of a Sefer Torah. With extreme gratitude and thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who has given me the incredible bracha and stus to be able to fulfill this mitzvah. I also want to thank my Aisha Skyle, who had not been for her passion and desire to keep Judaism alive in our home when the family was just started, I would not be here today. This Torah was written in the memory of my parents and Marlene's parents. My mother and father were wonderful people. They were completely secular, but they instilled me with a fine set of midos. Marlene's father did have came from a frum background, but left Yiddishkeit when he came to America as a teenager. Marlene's mother was always a kind and spiritual individual. Although none of our parents led Torah observant lives, we know that they're very happy in Shemayim for the path that we've chosen. Marlene and I take great comfort in knowing that every time the Sefer Torah is taken out to be read, our parents and Shamas will be receiving much schus. Likewise, may all of you who are here today share in the schus and simcha of this Sefer Torah. May this dedication be a refuah to those that are in need. That young boy growing up in Philadelphia in the early 1960s could never have imagined in his wildest dreams standing here today, nor could he have imagined the true joy and fulfillment of living a Torah observant life. Thank you.